Hi, everybody. Let's talk about academic integrity. We're going to be doing some work this week related to MLA formatting, paraphrasing, quoting, that sort of thing. And I wanted to take a second before we really get into all of that information to touch on a couple of things related to the use of AI and how to avoid what to do when you're accused of using AI. And please note that I said when and not if, because at the rate we're going and the way that technology is used to try to quote unquote catch students, it's more likely than not that you are probably going to be called on the carpet for this at some point and probably falsely. And so, my desire here is to give you some tools to make use of on the likely chance that that does happen. And the reason that I say it's likely is not because teachers want to catch you doing something wrong or because I think that you are doing something wrong. It's because the tools that teachers are given to try to avoid students doing this really lag behind the tools that are out there for creating work that's not your own. And so it's very frequent that instructors maybe don't really understand the way that AI works, and I am putting my hand up in the air for that. Absolutely. I definitely don't understand how it works. And there are also instructors who just don't have time to do anything other than make use of the tools that the school wants us to use, which in our instance is Turnitin. Okay, so to sum this up in a nutshell, AI makes use of patterns, repetition, and writing style to ensure that, or to say whether or not a student has used AI, to write their essay. And a lot of universities and colleges make use of Turnitin, GPT-0, Zero GPT, that sort of thing. The outcomes that I have seen from using Turnitin AI writing check have been less than optimal. Let's put it that way. Frequently, I have seen numbers like 100% coming up for students writing when I know that they did not use AI because we went through multiple drafts together and I knew that they didn't use it. So I'm not super impressed with what's available via Turnitin. I tend to depend a lot on my own experience, having read student papers since 2004, roughly. It's when you have a lot of time reading what other people have written, you can tell what's a legitimate human voice and what is not. It's getting more and more difficult to do that. And so I think that's what's causing a lot of instructors to depend more and more on those writing tools like Turnitin, AI Writing Check, GPT-0, et cetera, et cetera. So we find ourselves really in a bad spot. And while I know that AI has some great uses, I also know that it is just a road to ruin all the way around. All that being said, I want you to understand that if your writing pops up this outrageous number like 90 or 100% AI, the first thing you're going to be told is prove you didn't cheat, prove you didn't use this resource, AI, to write this essay. And if you give that any thought, you can see that's really hard to do. You're being asked to prove a negative, and that's really hard to do. So here's an example. This is not Turnitin. This is another resource from another school. But as you can see, it's looking for very specific turns of phrase. And I know that this student didn't use AI to write this because this was an essay that they wrote throughout the semester and turned in pieces. And we went through it together frequently. So anyway, this was not AI derivative. I have uploaded a report. And I have obviously taken it down, so I apologize. I did include part of that report back here, and it's more of this. The problem that we see here is that these turns of phrase that pop up and that the AI is flagging as AI, which if you think about it, that should terrify you if you've seen The Terminator. You can see play a crucial role in helping individuals has been flagged as a phrase that is used in AI, and that's a really standard phrase. That's not something that necessarily, in my opinion, would be written by AI. It could just as easily be written by a human being. So here are some key strategies for you to ensure that your writing is original and remains original. Because if you have viewed Dr. Flowers' video, you'll see that there are some very scary ways in which AI is kind of coming to live in our computers in ways that we just maybe don't even realize. Awareness is key. Make sure you have a good, strong thesis statement that you came up with and that your argument is as unique as you can make it. Make sure you include things that are personal to you. I know that frequently we say, don't use the personal in academic writing. And I don't mean that your entire essay should be a personal narrative when you're actually being asked to write, a lab report. But making use of observations that can be traced back to your class experience or to readings that you've done in class or that sort of thing. Use specific course materials and class discussions. These are ways that you can tag parts of your writing and say, yeah, there's no way this came from AI because I experienced this in class and I wrote this. Include original research and primary sources where possible and where reasonable. Take detailed notes of your research. Part of the process of showing that you actually wrote something is showing the research that you did in order to write the essay. Create an outline before you actually sit down to write. Keep your research notes, and for the love of all that's holy, don't save over your drafts. I realize that if you're writing on and saving to the cloud, frequently Word will save, or Google Docs or whatever will save so often that that's not really an option. But I think that it can be very helpful if you turn off that autosave feature and save at the end of each drafting process. And save as a new version, version 1, version 2, version 35. Document your writing process. In other words, just like you might keep a reading journal, I keep a reading journal. just like you keep a reading journal, maybe you keep a writing journal, and you jot down, okay, I worked on this essay on this date from this time to this time, and I did these things. I researched this thing and included these sources and blah, blah, blah. You get the picture. Hang on to your reference materials and the citations that you're going to use. Maintain a writing timeline. All of these things are things that you can show an instructor or an administrator if you are accused of sketchy behavior. So here is a link to an article that lays out some of the different ways you can go about avoiding this kind of problem. And I will link to this also on our website, on our Brightspace page, because it does lay out some really helpful information. And frequently, a lot of this this stuff that's in here, you probably just heard me talk about. But the main reason I'm including this here is because it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to make use of your version history, because that can be one of the most helpful ways to show someone that you actually wrote something. If you can pull up that version history either in Word or in Google Docs, if you can show that history, then you're in like Flynn, as they say. So start early to avoid last minute pressure. Submit your drafts to your instructors for feedback so that they know that you have been working on this all along. Meet with your professors during your planning phase. Make use of the Writing Center. These are all things that you need to do to make your writing better anyway and to get your money's worth out of college. But these can also be things that you can point to should the need arise to help you prove that you did actually write the essay. You want to make sure that you protect your academic reputation, because once you are accused and found guilty of doing something like this, it kind of tends to follow you like a bad smell. So please make sure that you do your best to, hang on to those things that you create and hang on to those things that you use to create your essay so that you can show that you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Okay, so I'm going to put that link on Canvas now. I suppose that the long and the short of this is that if you can show your instructor that you actually did the assignment yourself without making use of any kind of ChatGPT or AI stuff, you're going to need to, if you're going to be able to do that, you're going to have those things on hand. You'll have to have those notes, the brainstorming sessions, feedback stuff from when you went to the Writing Center, all of those things. So it's incumbent upon you to hold on to those things, because failure to be able to show that you did the work is going to result in some really negative consequences. Okay. I believe that's it for this discussion. I hope that nobody runs afoul of this and nobody needs to make use of this, but just in case, here it is.